Welcome to part 2 of Can I Teach Thinking?
In this video, we will delve even deeper into the impact that learning to learn can have on your outcomes.
At this stage, it may be tempting to say to ourselves, these are all tricks, optical and neural illusions, and of no relevance to our day-to-day life.
As we saw in video 1, our brains can be fooled by optical and neural illusions. And in our daily lives, we do use imperfect information to jump to the wrong conclusions.
Our minds do play tricks on us.
But we tell ourselves that when it really matters, we always get cog into action and rarely make silly mistakes.
Well, let's just consider for a moment that sometimes cog applies the wrong system to the challenge.
The gorilla video demonstrates this beautifully.
I don't know about you, but when I first saw this video, I was so focused on looking out for the gorilla that I missed the player leaving the game and I missed the curtain changing colour.
The lesson we should have taken from the first video was to apply a broad observation system as well as counting the passes, but most of us just looked out for the gorilla.
I think that we now know that OPSI can behave in ways that run the risk of producing an inaccurate answer to a problem or a question.
Let's spend a little more time understanding how she does this.
Let's look at something called the illusion of remembering, carried out by Larry Jacobi.
Let's imagine for a moment that we introduce you to a new name, Francis O'Regan.
And then several days later, you are presented with a list of names and asked to identify the names of minor celebrities who are on the list.
There is a likelihood that you will pick out Francis O'Regan as a minor celebrity.
This happens because after reading each name, OPSI does a quick search of your long-term memory. And if she's familiar with a name, will opt for there being a reason for this.
If she cannot place the name as a friend or colleague, and you are seeking a quick answer, then she will assume that Francis O'Regan must be a minor celebrity.
When answering a question or solving a problem, OPSI will use familiar information, recently obtained, as a substitute for accurate information if the required knowledge is not actually present in the long-term memory.
I hope that begins to demonstrate why it is so important that we use our long-term memory in the correct manner. So when we need to answer a question or undertake a challenge, we can access the correct, accurate information.
We also know that it helps to have some specific thinking skills to deploy in the event that we cannot access the correct information or do not have it.
These thinking skills enable us to develop an answer that is more likely to be accurate than the one that OPSI is able to deliver.
Because as we know, OPSI is more than happy to generate an answer based on incorrect information and assumptions.
I'd like to share one last example with you before we draw some conclusions. In 1960, Sarnoff Mendick, a young psychologist, created a remote association test, which was designed to test his theory of creativity. Sarnoff believed that creativity was an associative memory that worked very well.
The test involved giving a number of people 3 words. They were then asked to find the one word that linked these words together. For example, cottage, Swiss and cake are linked together by the word cheese. Dive, light and rocket are linked by the word sky. These people were also given a 3-word combination in which none of the words were linked. Scientists have since used this test to understand more about OPSI's creative powers and understand what influences her performance.
Scientists took 2 groups of students. They asked Group 1 to think about happy events and Group 2 to think about sad events.
They then gave these 2 groups a series of 3-word combinations. Half of them were linked and half of them were not. They were given 2 seconds to identify if the words were linked or were not.
The first surprise from this research was that the students' answers were significantly more accurate than would have been the case by chance.
This suggested that even the faintest signal within the 2-second time limit from the memory to OPSI there was a link was enough to allow OPSI to make the correct choice.
The second extraordinary finding was that the happier group were more than twice as accurate as the unhappy group.
This suggests that the mood of a person has a significant impact on the effectiveness and efficiency of OPSI's interaction with the long-term memory.
Neuroscientists have also discovered that the release of brain cell enhancers or inhibitors by the brain is impacted by the mood of the person.
This certainly backs up our findings from the work we have undertaken with students in the classroom.
We believe that knowing how to control your own mood will have a significant impact on the effectiveness of your brain.
Knowing how to manage your state in challenging situations, such as exams or other stressful situations, ensures that your brain is at its most effective and brilliant.
Launch Module 5 to conclude this set of videos and learn how to begin the process of teaching thinking in your school.